Somebody call Michael Bublé and Jason Derulo because it's spicy margarita time. We're discussing Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt and the summer's first big blockbuster. It's The Fall Guy. Hello. Welcome to Boy Party, the podcast about movies where two stars share the screen and battle it out for screen time, top billing, the fatter paycheck, and the most acclaim. Every week we discuss movies that give audiences two for the price of one on Movie Stars and delve into dueling star personas, the ultimate quest for box office and cinematic dominance. This week, we're discussing another new release. We know our listeners know of the new releases.
Released about 2 hours ago as of our time.
Yeah, we have gotten a chance, thanks to Universal Studios, Universal Pictures, to see David Leitch's new movie, The Fall Guy, 2 days before release. It's kicking off summer movie season, the first weekend of May, typically dominated by Marvel. For the first time in a decade plus, there's no Marvel movie out in the month of May. And as a result, we're getting The Fall Guy, a IP light, not IP free, but an IP light, and non-fantastical, real-world grounded, star-driven action movie blockbuster to an extent, which, in my opinion, is irregardless of quality, a slight step in the right direction.
I agree.
And certainly compared to some other movies that have come out in the last few months of a similar ilk, namely Argylle. It is somewhat harmless in its attempt to push star-driven blockbusters to the forefront once again, over franchise stuff. So, welcome back. My name is Lucien. I'm joined as always by Shane.
Good evening.
Shane has been pushing back for the past few days on the idea that The Fall Guy was a boy party movie. He said he would make up his mind after seeing it, whether or not it qualified. Now, we're sitting here recording the podcast, but we haven't actually discussed how he feels about that question now. So, Shane, is this movie boy party worthy?
Yeah, I'll give it a...
Yeah? I think Emily Blunt's screen time in this film is significant enough that it is a two-hander. It's
significant enough, and the scale of her scenes are on par with what Gosling does.
Yes.
It's not like she gets all the quiet, talky exposition bits and he does all the action.
She has a lot of presence in this movie.
A lot of presence, a lot of action.
Her personality dictates the tone of the film in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I think that her character is a person in the film who wields a lot of creative control because she's a film director.
She's his boss, essentially.
She's his boss. And she's kind of calling the shots on what we're seeing because we're watching her passion project film be made.
Yes.
And when you insert a character into a film who is crafting the images that are shown on screen in that way, they do exert a level of dominance that gives her a lot of star.
Yes. You kind of need a big character. You need a large actress to... fill that role.
And I will say, on that note, that I think this is the most I've enjoyed her in anything in about a decade.
I think so too.
I thought she was excellent in it.
I thought she was very charming.
And made the film watchable. So, with in a way that no one else would have pulled off, bar one or two other actresses, I think she saved a lot of this from being very, very tiresome.
Yes.
And I was reminded of why I liked her to begin with, when she was kind of starting out in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah, she's much better when she's doing kind of partial comedy, charming role rather than your Kitty Oppenheimer kind of
Kitty Oppenheimer,
snotty nose roles. Yeah,
Kitty Oppenheimer is, I think, maybe her worst performance ever because she is a she is a comedic kind of dry-witted actress. Yeah, and the Kitty Oppenheimer role is built for somebody like Emily Watson. Right, who is a completely straight performer who doesn't do cynical, who doesn't do snarkiness, whatever. But Emily Blunt needs a tinge of irony to her, and she brings that even in her way to something like Mary Poppins Returns. And in this, it's fully allowed to be let loose. And the other thing that I really valued about this film is that it is has a little bit of Muppets energy to it. Not enough, but a little bit, in that there is a movie being... I mean, so does a film we can compare to Babylon, in that it is about a movie being made, things are going wrong on set, things are falling over, there's explosions, there's funny little guys setting those off the explode. There's cutaways to funny guys who are setting off explosions, being like, I love explosions. And in that moment where they showed that funny guy setting off the explosion, do you know the guy I'm talking about, the older guy?
Yeah, and he said, I love my job.
Yeah.
And you sighed.
The second I saw him, I sighed, and then immediately after I was like, what does that remind me of? It's kind of a shitty version of the Muppets.
Yeah.
And Emily Blunt has been in one or two Muppet pieces of media, and I think has good Muppet vibes, and I think that she brought a lot of that to this film.
But let me tell you,
yeah,
despite what people might say, the Australians are not Muppets.
They are not Muppets.
They're not Muppets.
So we were not informed, we were not warned that this film was shot and entirely set
in Sydney,
Australia.
Yeah,
which is a real bummer when you find that out.
Profoundly boring
because
location.
There is nothing interesting, spontaneous, or quirky.
And you can tell because they set so much of this on the steps of the Sydney Opera House, because that is the only real sense of location you can get.
There is nothing else about Sydney that doesn't just look like the most generic Western city you could possibly come up with.
Set it in Jacksonville. Who cares? Like
any US city, bar one or two, would have more character than this.
Yeah.
Toronto, I'm a little bit not so sure.
But that has the cold thing.
Atlanta kind of sucks. But you could have set this film in Edinburgh, London, Manchester, Prague, fucking...
Go to Morocco. Who cares?
Morocco,
but
anywhere.
Again, the money talks.
The money talks. Now, I, in the trailer, saw some of the sort of skyscrapers, some of the stuff down at the harbour.
Yeah.
And I thought it looked a little bit like maybe Shanghai or Hong Kong.
Okay.
Which I was dreading, because last time Ryan Gosling was shooting a gun in Hong Kong, it was my dearly hated The Grey Man.
The Grey Man.
And I really wanted this film to be as different from The Grey Man as possible.
That's
which I
true, but there's also like the Skyfall China stuff, which is great.
Yeah, but you need a good director to make that. Those cities look cool in a Sam Mendes movie. They don't look so good in a David Leitch movie. So I think honestly, like the Australia stuff maybe survived David Leitch in a way where he was able to not fuck it up too much. But Jesus Christ, what a boring place to set a movie. And the main issue with setting a film in one of those countries is that the studio is realistically only going to fly over, 4 or 5 lead actors from the US to Australia for however many months. And they flew over Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, and they flew over Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Hannah Waddingham, Winston Duke, and Stephanie Sue, and that's the extent of who they flew over. Everyone else in this movie is a random Australian actor whom I've never seen before.
Nope.
Sometimes you find gems when you have actors I've never seen before. George Miller movies, the Mad Max films, are full of funny Australian characters.
Sure.
But you have to have the imagination and the casting prowess of George Miller to find those people in Australia.
Yeah.
Because most white Australian people, actors, are a little on the boring side.
A little bit.
And you're not going to get the level of kind of gritted old character actor that you find in an LA movie or a New York movie in something that's shot in Sydney, Australia. And
the alternative is like... It was the Royal Hotel.
Yes, the Royal Hotel has some great Australian guys in it.
You get into the good Australians when you get into Aborigine stuff, and you get into rural Australian stuff.
And also when your focus as a director is casting interesting guys.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, to be clear, I am not like declaring that Australian actors are an uninteresting breed in totality. They are. There's so many great Australian character actors around the place. But and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert's full of them, and Lord of the Rings is full of them. But you really have to be a director who is good at casting character actors to do that.
Australians as a whole are probably a more normal people than most other countries.
Exactly.
Which is a detriment.
There's less weirdos. Now, David Leitch is someone who has leaned heavily on character actors in other films to get away with being a bit shit. And this is the first David Leitch film, maybe Bullet Train 2, but the first one I'm aware of that Eddie Marzan does not appear in. Which is a real bummer for me, because even though Eddie Marzan is someone whose politics I profoundly disagree with, he is always a welcome sight in the film because he's a very ugly looking man, and I love when there's an ugly looking man on screen. It makes things so more interesting. This film desperately needed Eddie Marzan.
I'm gone off him since Fair Play a little bit.
Well, sure. But anyone would go off anyone after Fair Play.
I know.
But this film needed a John Goodman, it needed an Oliver Platt, it needed a Jeff Garland, it needed some sort of like studio executive guy. It needed the fucking Tom Cruise character from Tropic Thunder, even, or any of those Tropic Thunder peripheral Steve Coogan, Matthew McConaughey. This film has there's very little depth. There's very little characters in it. There's no heel to the production.
Yeah.
The only person that brings any tension to whether the film will be finished or not is the Hannah Waddingham producer.
Yeah.
And she's just not an interesting enough performer to carry all that. You need like a guy barking down the phone, or a woman barking down the phone from LA about how they're going over budget.
She's not enough of a character.
No, and she's asked to do the role of 3 other characters.
Yeah, because she's filling in.
Because they weren't arsed to bring
they're
guys over to Australia.
They're trying to create a specific type here with the Diet Coke constantly in the hand.
Yes.
But it doesn't go far enough.
It doesn't go far enough.
No.
I don't know how I feel about her. I haven't seen her act before. I've only seen her hosting the fucking Eurovision.
Okay.
And she is going to be in Mission Impossible 8.
Really?
And we'll see how that goes. I thought she wasn't awful, but she was... I don't think she's necessarily...
It's not... I don't think a lot of it is her fault.
It's not her fault. As I said, I think the role that she was given could have been split out between 4 good male and female actors in any other film that was actually shot in the US.
Put Flea in it. I don't care. He's Australian.
Yeah, Flea would have been good. Yeah, I mean, we're naming people who were in Babylon.
Yeah, we are.
For good reason. Because Babylon sets a good bar for what a film about making movies and chaos on sets should be like. Mm-hmm. And this film is trying very hard to live up to.
This doesn't have any chaos to it at all.
There's a real lack of chaos. Things are a little bit too organized.
Yeah.
And yes.
There's no constant threat of something being fucked up.
No, and it's trying to live up to Tropic Thunder, and it's trying to live up to Babylon, and those are... Yeah. And sorry, a third thing that we need to mention, because this film is obviously so proud of its the relationship it has with stunt performers.
Yeah.
This film obviously is David Leitch, who is someone who started off as a stunt coordinator. He was a stunt coordinator along with Chad Stahelski on stuff like The Matrix. Like, he's a legendary stunt coordinator. Mm-hmm. If there was an Oscar for stunts, which this film references there isn't, he would surely have probably won 6 or 7. He obviously has wanted to make a stunt, a tribute to stunt people his whole life. There's another interesting twist to his story, which I kind of clicked in the first few minutes of the film, which is that a stunt performer actually died on his film Deadpool 2, which I had forgotten about. So he obviously feels very strongly about paying tribute to this career. Mm-hmm. And then the film started, and the Ryan Gosling character is like, I'm a stunt performer. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, interesting, stunt performer. No one's ever thought to make a film about a stunt performer and what life is like as a stunt performer who lives in the shadow of a movie star. And then I thought, if only there was an extremely famous film from the last 5 years in which Brad Pitt played a stunt performer.
Yeah.
Like, it is kind of ridiculous that they're trying to get away with you forgetting that was just done.
Sure, but do you think this film got green light quicker because of that?
I think that they forgot about it. I don't think it makes any difference. I think that there was a completely different type of movie. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I do think that the dynamic between the actor and the stuntman in that film is so much more complex and interesting. Yeah. Even when I'm not crazy about that film.
Yeah.
I actually probably enjoyed this film more. But Brad Pitt won an Oscar for that film, so you're not going to get away with the audience forgetting that it happened.
No,
is the main thing. But anyway, Ryan Gosling is a movie star we have not discussed on Boy Party, despite being like one of the 10 definitive leading men of the present day.
And probably having like 6 or 7 options we could have done.
We have a bunch of options, and it's I'm sure going to frustrate some people that we are
covering him in this.
We are covering him in this, and we are therefore pushing The Nice Guys, La La Land, Crazy Stupid Love,
Big Short, even
The Big Short, and Gangster Squad are all being pushed. Although, to be fair, The Big Short is being pushed because we've done Brad Pitt, and we've done him twice, and we've done Steve Carell, and we've done Ryan Gosling. The Big Short, guys, will be coming to you in 2025.
That could be a nice final episode.
The Nice Guys and La La Land, I feel like you might get this year because there's demand for them. But
again, and like the other actor in that are interesting.
Is interesting, But this is a very interesting one because this film really feels like a response to the success of Barbie.
Yeah.
In a way where if Barbie had been a disaster, I don't know how they would put this thing out in cinemas, because it is pitching itself off a version of Ryan Gosling's star persona that was created
from in Barbie. Yeah.
He was not seen as this guy before Barbie. He was seen as a star of prestige films,
relatively reserved, not public facing.
His blockbuster efforts amounted to Blade Runner, Also a boy party, actually, that film.
Yeah.
But like, you know, he was doing mumbly blockbusters. He was doing musicals that get Best Picture nominations, and he was doing
Fracture.
Another boy. No, Fracture was before he was a star.
Is that a boy party though?
Yeah, it is. Fracture is. No, I feel like he's not famous enough in Fracture.
Okay, fair enough.
Boy Party's more. Yeah. Anyway, but like Ryan Gosling in a fucking David Leitch movie would have been unthinkable in 2016, despite The Nice Guys is probably only 2 steps removed from this. But Shane Black is like a filmmaker with a lot of legitimacy, and that film has a sort of a classic post fucking Altman thing going on with its sort of neo-noir thing that I don't think Ryan Gosling would shy away from, whereas this is a very like silly commercial film for teenagers. And like Empire Magazine men, which I feel like he was shying away from 6 or 7 years ago.
But he's really leaning into it.
But now he's really leaning into it. He did The Gray Man, which is one of the most cynical cash-ins I've ever witnessed. It's a terrible, terrible film. It has no vibes, no atmosphere. His performance is dog shit. I hope it bought him a nice house. It is a very poor choice for a guy with otherwise
Gladly career. It's pretty much forgotten.
Which one?
The Gray Man. I don't think people.
Oh, it is forgotten for sure. Despite being directed by the people who made the highest grossing film of all time. And then he does Barbie, which is a great choice. I don't like that film as much as everybody else. Neither do you, but it's a great choice for him. He's great in it. He deserved the Oscar nomination. He performed on Just Ken at the Oscars, and it was one of the best things on that show.
Yeah.
Like, he has turned the Barbie thing into
it has gone as well as it possibly
could have. And he's managed to attach his energy to the Barbie thing in a way that is not irritating.
Yeah.
At all. Which is
because it is kind of driven by him and not the character.
Yeah. It feels like he's really enjoyed himself the entire time.
Yeah.
And that always makes for good vibes.
You can sense when actors are like putting it on.
Yeah.
And he's not. He's like seems pretty happy doing this stuff.
Yeah. So this film is very much like did you like me being goofy and commercial in Barbie?
Yeah.
Here I am again doing the same thing.
But one maybe more for the boys.
One for the boys. And by the way, the female lead is from Oppenheimer. We're doing the Barbenheimer thing again. Like, this film is perfectly calibrated.
Barbenheimer too.
If you were in Universal the weekend that those movies came out, you would, be fucking grinning ear to ear once because Oppenheimer, a film about a scientist, made almost $1 billion. And then secondly, you'd be grinning ear to ear realizing that you have a movie coming out next year with the second billed actors in both of those films starring in it. I think this film will probably make lots of money. But anyway, it's good that he's, doing well, and then we have Ryan Gosling in our lives. Is it a pity that he's probably going to make movies like this forever now? Is he going to make movies like this forever? I said to you, he might now go on a bit of a Kurt Russell run where all he does is kind of like...
I'm afraid of that happening. What does he know? About 42?
I have no idea what age he is. Like, the best outcome is that he does the Damien Chazelle prison movie that's apparently in the works.
Yeah.
Although he's 43. As we've seen in the last couple of years, Ryan Gosling and Damien Chazelle are capable of making
not a reliable
real
pair
stinker together.
Sure, but they tried to go too sincere with that. I don't think that mistake will be made again.
That's closer to loud.
How long will Ryan Gosling stay jacked?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's not. I don't think he's as jacked as. He's
not as jacked he really is
in this one. Yeah. He's not known consistently for being as
not at all
Mr. Pratt or Mr. Hemsworth or any of those.
Yeah.
He's never been forced to be because he's never been a superhero.
So it's kind of unusual seeing him as that.
Yeah. Is this so like Timothée Chalamet hasn't done superheroes. He's done Dune and he's done Wonka. And everyone's pretty content with that because you go out. He's done 2 blockbusters that are pretty good.
Yep.
They are IP, but they are
original in a way.
They are sort of their own thing with a unique vibe.
Yeah.
It is obviously better that Ryan Gosling is doing this than doing superheroes.
Yeah.
But I kind of preferred the Blade Runner thing. Even though that film is boring. But I would rather him be doing Denis Villeneuve. That feels like he was in his Timothée Chalamet phase.
Yeah.
Of like, Denis Villeneuve is as commercial as I will go.
Yeah.
And now he's just swung back to like this fucking shit. Like just stupid movies. Like stupid movies for babies. This is a little bit.
It is,
even though I liked it.
I'll allow it.
I enjoyed it and I thought it was a fun time.
Yeah. I'm a bit colder than you are, I think.
I feel like we haven't even said if we liked it or not.
No.
I thought it was a very hard film to hate because of the two actors.
I agree.
But a very easy film to be annoyed by because of the style of humor in Drew Pearce's script. Drew Pearce, who wrote Iron Man 3, and he made the fucking thingy with the fucking... he made the thingy with the fucking... that film with Dakota Johnson and he wrote Hobbs and Shaw. Jesus, okay. Sorry, he made Hotel Artemis, not the Dakota Johnson. Yeah. He also has a story credit on Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. And then he wrote Hobbs and Shaw. Wow, that is a mixed bag.
Yeah.
That's all his film credits that I've just listed.
Interesting.
But yeah, there's an annoyingness to this script, but it never gets into Ryan Reynolds' The Rock movie territory.
There's a bit more to it. I'm trying to figure out, is that entirely down to the two?
It's a little bit that, or it's mostly that. And then a little bit, I think the absolute desperation in this film to pay tribute to the stunt performer world actually saves it,
because
it can't be too snide about movie making when it has reverence for these people.
Yes, there's an appreciation of the craft in this, which inherently forces it to be somewhat.
Tropic Thunder is completely nihilistic about filmmaking. It is like, these people are scumbags, the producers are fucking nonces, the actors are egotists, the directors are lunatics, everybody sucks. And this film is like, A, stunt performers are heroes who risk their health and safety to bring us good movies, and B, wouldn't it be nice if a English woman in her 30s was allowed to direct a big blockbuster? Let's live in a fantasy world where that's allowed to happen.
And also she's good for it, and she's
doing a good job. She's plucked out of obscurity by Hannah Waddingham because she'd be easy to manipulate as a controlling producer, and then proceeds to like actually bring her vision of what looks like an absolutely appalling film that is The Dark Tower meets Doom
in a way that will probably never get her allowed to make a film again.
Yeah, exactly.
She's breaking every single health and safety regulation.
Going to director jail after this. But it's nice. It's nice that this film pretends that Emily Blunt would be allowed to direct this film, when in reality this film would be directed by David Leitch.
Like, is there an underlying motive here from David Leitch to try and build an appreciation from the audience for these shit movies and the effort that goes into them? Because he knows he makes shit movies, and he wants people to feel like...
I think so. And he knows that his film's main stamp of quality is the stunts.
Yeah.
And that people have literally died to make the stunts in his films good.
Yes.
And he is like, guys, you may think my films are shit, but look at the hard work. And I'm always very skeptical when people say, people who work in film who are kind of anti-critic will often be like, critics don't know anything.
We try so hard.
So many people worked hard. And it's like,
people work hard on every film.
People work hard on every film. I will never criticize the grip on a bad film.
Yeah.
I criticize the director, the producers, and the screenwriter, because they're the people who had the ability to make it good and they chose not to. David Leitch does seem to have a little bit of that, where he's like, you should really be nicer. The stunt performers work hard on every shitty movie. And it's like, sure, they do. I think there should be an Oscar for stunt performers. 100%. I love Mission Impossible. There are 2 Tom Cruise references in this film that I went, good stuff.
Good.
Anyway.
Look, now, that being said,
the stunts in this film weren't that good.
I don't think they're that good.
And there's a fucking car chase where he's like on a steel.
The biggest problem with this is there is absolutely no sense of location to the
because
stunts.
It's set in fucking Sydney.
It's set in Sydney and it's set on a beach.
Yeah, there's bits where he's like being pulled behind a van.
Yeah,
and he's like surfing. On a steel.
Just a steel plate
on the road.
Yeah.
That is like the worst CG green screen nonsense.
But they did it for real.
You wouldn't think it.
You wouldn't.
I'm sure they did it for real because they fucking go on about the stunt performers. And
the behind the scenes runs over the credits.
The stuff that's within the film, like the crazy car stuff on the beach, actually does look pretty cool. Like I thought it was engaging, and I was like going along with it. Like,
it's like,
I didn't dislike the action in this.
No, but it's not. It's not sincerely locked into the action of the world for it to be perfect either.
I guess it had very little gun stuff,
which is good,
and a lot of vehicle running and jumping. Yeah. And those are the types of action I like. But obviously, I like it when Tom Cruise is doing it.
Yeah.
This is not as exciting.
There's coming out of this. there's a theory I need to finalize that I'm working on where when you make a film that features action or some piece of media, they're like, there's a hierarchy to to what you prioritize. And I think it's evident comparing this to like the Mission Impossibles. It's evident comparing this to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where like in this is like an action film directed as a comedy. So by doing that, you take away from the action.
Central Intelligence, very good. Like obviously, this is better directed than that. I think David Leitch is a better action director than that fucking idiot who made that. Because Atomic Blonde, have you seen Atomic Blonde?
I haven't, but I know you're fond of it.
It's a very well-directed film that has no comedy. It is like a very straight thriller with Charlize James McAvoy, and it has this pulpy Berlin, sexy 80s Bowie thing, and it never goes into this like flashy comedy shit. So he knows how to do it, but then Hobbs and Shaw is one of the worst action films I've ever seen.
When you set an action film as directed as a comedy, it removes all the stakes and danger from it.
Of course,
because everything's a joke.
Everything's a joke. Everything has a punchline, and
when stuff crashes, when people fall, you're like, you don't feel the impact of when people hit.
In a Mission Impossible film, which those films are funny and they're full of jokes, right? But when Tom Cruise jumps off of something in those films, when he lands,
when he dodges through traffic on a motorbike in Paris, you are out of your seat.
When he jumps and he lands, you know that him landing is going to have a big soaring bit of score, and we're going to move on to the next element of the scene.
And you know the cast is holding their breath when it happens.
Whereas in one of these films, somebody jumps, they land, and there's a punchline.
Punchlines take away from action.
I'm looking up who the cinematographer was on this. His last couple of films: Bullet Train, The Lost City, Hobbs and Shaw, Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde, Transformers 5, A Good Day to Die Hard, Max Payne. This is not an interesting guy, I'm afraid. No. We haven't mentioned the fact that this film is based on a TV show, something that we
learned after the fact.
I learned it in the opening credits because it came up on the screen. That was on from 1982 to 1986, starring Lee Majors. Some of the boomers that were there at this film cinema with us were very excited that Lee Majors appeared in a post-credit scene. I will admit, Shane and I had gotten up and left before this post-credit scene because I thought there's nothing a post-credit scene for this film could have that would interest me in the least. No. But anyway, fair play to them. And Jason Momoa is in this film as well. As like the guy who replaces Aaron Taylor Johnson's character in the movie. So they've been trying to develop a Fall Guy reboot for years. Martin Campbell was going to direct it at one point. It went through a few studios. Dwayne Johnson was in negotiations to play the role in 2013. And then in 2020, Gosling, Leitch, and Drew Pearce got attached to this stuntman project. And then it turned out that it was a Fall Guy movie. So obviously it kind of like, apparently the Australian government and the New South Wales authorities added funds to the production of 30 million and 14.5 million respectively. So that's almost $50 million that the Australians pumped into this. And I would say that the budget of this is that being reported. I would guess it's about in the 170, 180 range. 125 apparently. So you're telling me that they gave 50 million from Australia to this? That means that it would only cost 75 million to the Americans. Like this, I mean, look, this
good investment on their part.
Apparently, this was 125, and Argyle was 200. There is 100 times more value for money on screen in this, in which things look like they were actually shot on location, and there are actual movie stars. Which unfortunately,
like to be fair, David Leitch does seem to get his product out.
He does. Like
he might have a lack of
efficient director,
creativity, and
he has a film out
interesting sense of humor. But
he has a film out more or less once a year, every 18 months. Now his last 3 films have been 1 stars for me. Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, and what's the other one? Bullet Train, all 1-star films. So but like, look, he's not writing all of these. So a little bit of the blame goes to the Drew Pearces of the world as well.
He is potentially going to waste making his own films.
Yes. I don't know what should he be doing?
I don't know. You said he was a stunt coordinator on The Matrix.
Oh, you say he should just go back to being a stunt coordinator?
No, not go back to being stunt coordinator, but like find a better writer to work with.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Stop. Sorry. Like this is a profoundly annoying film.
It is annoying.
I
didn't find it profoundly annoying. I thought it was a little bit annoying.
Look, I haven't seen the Deadpools. I haven't seen Bullet Train.
Yeah.
Again, this is the kind of thing where I'm later to the hate train here, where you've all kind of looped back around.
Yeah, we've looped back around thinking David Leitch. This auteur.
This was kind of me with the Marvel stuff, where I was far behind catching up, and then by the time Spider-Man No Way Home came out, I thought it was the biggest load of trash ever, and you were like, all right.
Your standards are higher, unfortunately.
They'll come around. I'll go on a David Leitch binge, and then I'll come back around to being Fall Guy.
Like ultimately, this is my second favorite David Leitch film, and I've seen 5 or 6.
That's the thing. And I know for a fact if I watched them all, this would also be my second favorite Leitch.
It's weird that there's a clip from Atomic Blonde in the first 10 seconds of this. It's really weird, and then also that his production company logo appears really big on the screen in the middle of an action scene. Anyway.
I don't like meta filmmaking. I'm sorry.
All right. Enough about the plot and quality of Fall Guy. Poster analysis. We've got the poster printed.
We've also got to talk about Emily Blunt.
Nice little cards here. So, I quite like this main poster of the two of them.
I do.
Whatever. They're attractive people.
They're very pretty.
They look cool. I like the outfits. The megaphone is annoying because it means that everything's shifted a little bit to the left to make space for it. We were just at an event where we got to hold a replica megaphone for our own pictures.
I'm sure it's a real megaphone.
Yeah, sure. But one that looks exactly like the poster. We got to
now, I do appreciate that it's a good stand-in for a gun.
Oh, that's a really good point. There's no guns on this poster at all. I am someone who is very anti-gun.
Yes,
and I think that
they're shit in movies.
Less guns in movies is a good thing. I don't get mad when like Cruise has a gun on the mission poster or whatever, but I do think that like Chris McQuarrie seems to be someone who makes an effort to have less guns in his movies as they go along.
Guns are fine as like a very specific plot trigger just to like kill someone if you need to.
Action movies do not need a gun on the poster. This movie has no guns on the poster, and I still know that it is full of action because there is giant explosions in the background.
This also does make good use of prop guns.
It does. Yes.
Like that's a good guy.
Yes. This movie has a lot of guns in it that you really wish Alec Baldwin had access to. There's also Gosling is also covered in soot and shit on this poster.
We like a dirty boy.
Now, it says from the director of Bullet Train. I feel like you could have said from the director of a couple of things.
Bullet Train's a weird one.
It's just the last one, and it did very well. And this is probably closest to tone in it.
Do you think you'd put people, a certain type of person off by saying it was a Deadpool director?
And he only did Deadpool 2 as well. That's the thing. He didn't do the first one. I would personally say the director of John Wick, Atomic Blonde, and Bullet Train.
Which John Wick did he do?
He did the first one. He co-directed it with Chad Stahelski.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
There is a DGA arbitration issue with that. But I think it's a good poster. And you know what I really like? I like the little guy falling in the A.
I do as well.
I think it's great. And I think in the version of this poster that they had up on the screen in the cinema where the two actors are blocking the letters, and you can barely read what it says, the little guy falling makes the word fall easier to read. Yeah. Just because you know what you're looking at. And that's a really clever piece of design. So I'm pro. There's also a lot of cool like 80s style posters for this movie.
It's a little on the Mad Maxy,
I guess,
style.
I mean, it's lacking in any kind of color grading. There's no one color on this. Literally, like it's just a photo. Like Mad Max posters are all brown.
Sure,
and
I'm just thinking blue font.
This is literally yellow and sure, the yellow font is Mad Max.
And also
but
it's kind of Australian.
There's no colors. It's just like there's every color's on this. Blue, orange, pink, white. It may as well be Anyone But You. Another film shot in Sydney.
Yep.
We haven't talked about or comparing our two actors and their stats.
I don't think we've talked about Emily Blunt at all.
We talked about it for the first like 5 minutes.
I guess
we did. So, Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. Want to do a quick guess on their box office tallies? Okay. I feel like this one is a little tricky to guess.
Okay, I'm gonna go with RG first.
You think that he's got a higher box office? Oh, I'm just asking you who has more, who has higher. You don't have to guess the numbers. Tough one.
Emily Blunt definitely has a sneaky little voice acting 900 million film in there. She's in Sing now or something.
No. She's not in like. She does not have a sneaky voice acting 900 mil. Her only voice acting role is Romeo and Juliet with 193 million. Really, and it is like her 12th biggest movie.
Okay. Oh well, she is Oppenheimer, obviously.
Oppenheimer.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Emily Blunt is a little bit behind.
Emily Blunt
about $1 billion. It's gonna be like 4 billion versus 3 billion.
Okay. Emily Blunt. 5.1 billion.
Really?
Ryan Gosling 3.3 billion.
Including Barbie.
Wow. Here's what we're looking at. Barbie 1.4 billion.
Yeah.
Then a $1 billion gap between that and his next biggest film.
Blade Runner next.
La La Land.
La La Land.
433.
Yeah.
Blade Runner 257. Blade Runner did not make a profit.
Yeah.
Crazy Stupid Love is his fourth biggest film. Remember the Titans then. The Big Short, The Notebook, First Man actually did okay, 100 million. Gangster Squad, that's all the 100 millions. Then you're down to these mid-level prestige films. Drive, The Ides of March, The Nice Guys was not profitable.
Yeah.
Place Beyond the Pines, Blue Valentine. Now we're into like single-digit million. Lars and the Real Girl. The Fall Guy has apparently already made $8 million. I don't know where it's made that money. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it has. Must have opened in China. Half Nelson, Only God Forgives, blah, 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 blah. Right. Emily Blunt, you got just short of $1 billion for Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
You got 367 for
Mary
Edge
Poppins.
of Tomorrow.
Okay.
345 for Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Which is kind of her. Yeah. Then you've got A Quiet Place.
Oh, yeah.
Like she has been first or second billed in Edge of Tomorrow. An interesting parallel to this. Maybe Boy Party just about squeezes in as a boy party movie. I think it does because that film is very much, the posters for that film are very Cruise, Blunt, Live, Die, Repeat. I think we could get away with that.
Potentially.
This is kind of the first one since that she's been like split down the middle with a man. Quiet Place. Devil Wears Prada, she's kind of the fourth person in. Quiet Place 2 with Cillian Murphy. And then Gulliver's Travels, which is always a funny one because she was offered the role of Black Widow in Marvel. She said yes. And then Gulliver's Travels said, you're not allowed. We have you contracted to do Gulliver's Travels. And she was forced to go do Gulliver's Travels and couldn't do Marvel and has never gone back to Marvel. And they gave Scarlett the role.
This box office number would be looking very different.
This box office number would be 4 times higher if she was in Marvel. Because Black Widow is in every Avengers movie, every Captain America, like the 2 Captain America sequels, and the Black Widow.
But sorry,
out of number is probably like 17 billion. Like,
if she took the Black Widow role, would the Mary Poppins have been made? Would she have been in Oppenheimer?
No, Mary Poppins would have been made with somebody else.
Yeah.
God knows who. To be honest, probably Anne Hathaway doing an English accent, which would have been a nightmare. And Edge of Tomorrow would have been made with I don't even want to speculate.
Who is her closest counterpart?
Her closest counterparts are like in a kind of weird way. Like you think, oh, it's Chastain and Hathaway.
They're very American.
But they're very American. And then there's no other English actress who's as big as her in that age bracket. The next tier down is Rosamund Pike.
Yeah,
I guess.
So what? This is kind of 30
Mulligan, right? They're the next tier down.
Yeah,
where they can be
kind of 38 to 45 range.
They can be the Ryan Gosling love interest.
Yeah,
but they're not going to be on the fucking poster of
No, they're not.
Big studio film. She's done very well for herself with stuff like Edge of Tomorrow. Jungle Cruise, 210.
She's weirdly one of the biggest female stars in the world.
She is. Jungle Cruise is a very much a boy party. That's like a complete, like she's the protagonist of that film. The Rock is shows up about half an hour in.
Was Oppenheimer her first Oscar
nomination, which is crazy. But you know why? Because she mostly makes blockbusters.
That's the thing, yeah.
But she makes non-superhero blockbusters, which I respect.
Yeah, and like I think when you hear Emily Blunt, you don't think of her as kind of a cash out blockbuster
these
actress.
Are all 3 or 4 star films in my opinion, apart from Gulliver's Travels. Like then Into the Woods she's in. Girl on the Train was kind of her like trying to get an Oscar after Gone Girl. That film sucks and she's bad in it. Very bad performance. Might be worse than Oppenheimer. Probably
it's similar.
Because the whole performance is I'm so drunk. Oh God.
It's an I drink wine
performance. Very bad. I can't stop drinking wine. Patty Harrison. Here's one you forgot she was in. She's in Looper.
Oh yeah.
Bad performance again. She's in everyone's favorite blockbuster, The Huntsman: Winter's War with Jessica Chastain.
Look, I'll give her a lot of credit. She tries.
Charlize Theron is another counterpart of hers.
Sure.
And then she's in The Wolfman actually with Benicio del Toro. The Adjustment Bureau, she's great in. That's one of my favorite Emily Blunt performances.
Yeah.
And then she was also in Sherlock Gnomes. Of course, I forgot Sicario.
Oh, she's in those.
Best performance, I think.
I don't engage with those at all.
I was on a big give her an Oscar nomination for Sicario buzz in 2015, but also I was a teenager and I just went along with what people on the internet said. But that was a year where I was like, oh, Emily Blunt, she's great. And then 5 Year Engagement, she's really good in. And then I am a big fan of Salmon Fishing in the Yemen. where she is just like a lovely lady. She is Ewan McGregor's love interest. They have incredible chemistry.
Yeah.
They should be in more stuff together. That's Emily Blunt's career. So she has made more money than Ryan Gosling because she makes a mid-level $300 million blockbuster every 2 years, and he leaves massive gaps between working. But
that could start closing in years to come.
That could start closing in the next 3 or 4 years, I'd say, yeah.
It's weird how few films he's been in, really.
It's really weird. It's weird his Oscar nomination to working proportions are way off.
Yeah.
It's weird that in 2011, he had Ides of March, Drive, Crazy Stupid Love out within 3 months.
Yeah.
And people were already sick of him because he was everywhere.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we go 4 years without a Ryan Gosling film, and yet he can come back and do Papyrus 2 on SNL, and it feels like he's never been gone. Yeah. He's beloved. Like, here's a pop quiz question for you: who got the "and" on this movie? Really, really weird.
Jason Momoa.
Winston Duke. Jason Momoa was an uncredited cameo.
Yeah.
Winston Duke was uncredited was an "and" on this, which is very weird when you consider that Stephanie Sue, who was in this film for about 4 minutes, is an Oscar nominee and has the same number of Oscar nominations as Emily Blunt, which is insane. Mm-hmm. Winston Duke gets the "and." Do you even remember who Winston Duke is? He is the husband in Us.
Oh, yeah.
That's who he is.
That's who he is.
He has only been in... This is every film...
I liked him in Us.
This is every film Winston Duke has ever been in.
Yeah.
Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, Us, Avengers Endgame. Something called 9 Days.
Does he have a higher box office total than Ryan Gosling?
Oh my God, I'm going to find out. Spencer Confidential, Black Panther 2, and The Fall Guy. He is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He is in 8 movies.
Yeah.
And I can confirm that his box office total is, drumroll please, $7.2 billion, which is higher than Ryan Gosling.
Is he the lead in any of those films?
$2 billion higher than Emily Blunt as well.
Okay. Yeah, okay, fine. Give him the hand.
He is taking the piss. He is on a stealth mission to become the next Samuel L. Jackson.
Potentially,
of just like well-liked black character actor who builds up insane box office by being in all the big franchises.
You know what? Charming guy. Liked him a lot in this.
He's in $3 billion films. Like, as M'Baku, the fucking rival tribe leader in Wakanda.
Yeah.
That's insane. Now, in Spencer Confidential, that is a film that was marketed as Mark Wahlberg, Winston Duke. They were treating him like a movie star in 2020, which is bizarre. But I guess if you're in Black Panther, you kind of get a lot of... And then, like, this guy never works. Where did he come from?
Is he a TV guy?
No. He's in a couple episodes of Person of Interest, 3 episodes of Modern Family. That's it.
Weird.
Where did he come
Stage
from?
Guy?
He must.
Must be like a Broadway guy.
No.
No?
No, he's not. No, he literally, like, he seems to have... Oh, he's from a place called Argyle in Trinidad. He seems to have been plucked from complete obscurity for Black Panther and has just been...
People like him.
Shot into...
Probably just a nice guy on set.
He just seems... he's good in this film.
Yeah, he's a talented actor.
He's quite good. And I would take... If you're going to have a black character as the sidekick, I would take him over Little Rel Howery, kind of like
Kevin
Hart type comedy guy. Like, he's a much more serious
like,
performer.
To be fair, he actually... I found there was a bit more presence to the action when he was involved.
Yes. No.
I thought he had a bit of power behind him.
He did. He had a good bit of presence and definitely added more than Aaron Taylor Johnson did, although he was harmless enough.
I kind of liked Aaron Taylor Johnson.
He was okay. He was doing a couple of weird voices, which I respected.
He was doing a McConaughey cowboy thing.
He did a McConaughey, and then he also did a voice that sounded like that guy on TikTok who does all the, like, your idiot friend who won't watch serious films. Oh, that guy who's what is this obscure black and white movie? He makes fun of those people. He's very good. I'm always sending you stuff. It was used practical stunts. Leach said it was a love letter to stunts. Oh, I had no idea. It broke a Guinness World Record for the most cannon rolls in a car. The music was by a guy called Dominic Lewis, who I've never heard of.
Sorry, I thought that record was broken in Casino Royale. That was the whole thing with Casino Royale. They must have done one more than the role in Casino Royale.
The score is largely based around the melody of the song.
I didn't acknowledge the score in this.
I was built for loving you, baby.
Oh, sorry, it's built.
The theme is all built around that.
Sorry, it's built.
My main association with that song is 2008 Kids' Choice Awards, where Jack Black hosted, and he kicked off the show by singing, "I was meant for sliming you, baby. You were meant for sliming me."
Banger.
The film also features songs such as Thunderstruck by AC/DC, which I thought was kind of fun.
I have no time for that.
I was tapping my foot because I was drinking big coffee and I was getting a bit...
If the Australian government is giving 50 million to someone, and the best they can come up with is AC/DC's
money doesn't buy ideas. Money just buys licensing. So... And then they also
but like, stop giving money to people with no ideas.
I agree. And then they also use I believe in a thing called Love by the Darkness, which I thought was quite good and effective and brought a bit of energy to that scene. It is getting positive reviews. It has 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. I understand why. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, Rotten Tomatoes is a weighting of whether people gave it 3 stars or 2 stars, basically. This is a film that it is very easy to give 3 stars. To me, this is a 3-star film.
I think it's a 2-star
film. I was not mad at it. It's funny that you thought this was 3. You thought this was 2 stars. I thought Challengers was 2 stars.
I thought it was 4.
We are. Our opinions are differing. This is good podcast content, but I found this to be not an exhausting drag.
Like
I feared it would be.
I have a lot of reasonably positive things to say about it.
Yeah,
but it's just
you're just annoyed at what it was in spirit.
I'm annoyed at what it was in spirit, and ultimately, I think it's a celebration of
mediocrity.
Yes,
sure.
Like not from the stunt perspective. The main thing that it's like paying homage or that it's celebrating is not an area of mediocrity.
Junk,
but everything around it is complete trash.
Sure.
Like I think the humor is bad. I think the sense of location is bad. I don't like the soundtrack. I don't like the clichédness of it.
I know that it's full of cliches. Absolutely chock-a-block with cliches.
And like, Universal, you can't fool me with free drinks.
Well, they can fool me.
They fucking can, and
I love you, Universal. You're a perfect studio.
Universal gave me a spicy margarita.
I love their spicy margarita.
And also, they were really trying to force that
spicy margarita thing and the karaoke. Oh, sorry. The karaoke scene is so bad.
It's really bad.
It's a bad song choice. She's a bad singer.
No, funny. Fine, whatever.
Oh, and the dog wasn't funny. And the unicorn wasn't funny. A lot of bad jokes.
All you're doing is naming things in this film that aren't funny.
But I still thought, but it was Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt were like flirting on a film set. What do you want from me? I like that. I like simple things.
Yeah. The dog needed to be replaced with a real person.
Yes.
Ryan Gosling should have sang. I don't know.
Ryan Gosling singing would have been a lot more interesting. All right. I think we're done here.
I'm just going to get really angry now if we
can't do box office game.
Why not?
Because the film hasn't fucking come out yet, you goon. So we're going to do the credits game. This is the game where I read the credits of a film starring one of these 2 stars from bottom to top, according to Letterboxd. Shane has to guess what the movie is as fast as possible. Would you like a year?
Yeah, go on.
The year 2020.
2020?
Yeah, we're going to go. This is going to be a fun list because there are a number of people on this list. Well, you'll see. All right, so Joseph Palmer, Martin Ward, Paige Bestington, Rosemary Muldoon, Tommy O'Neill, John Tenney.
Stop there a second. All right. I've heard a lot of Irish names there.
I don't know. Names that sound Irish.
Warden O'Neill and
names that sound Irish. Yeah.
Sound Irish. Okay. That would lean me towards being an Emily Blunt picture.
Interesting. So.
Okay, keep going.
Michael McCormack, Dan Delaney, Des Cafferty.
Come on. Okay.
Tony Reedy.
Okay.
Lydia McGuinness.
Fuck's sake.
Tara O'Kane.
This is an Irish film.
Don Wycherley, who went to my mother's school in Serene. Barry McGovern. Danielle Ryan. Dervla Malloy.
Okay, I gotta pause this.
I'm about to get to the not Irish people though.
Okay.
The top, we have 4 left to go, and none of the top 4 are Irish.
Okay.
Sorry, one of them is. Sort of.
Is this an Emily Blunt film?
Correct.
Has to be. Yeah, of course. What's she making 2020?
A notorious film.
Notorious.
I haven't mentioned it yet because it didn't get a fucking cinema release because of COVID. So it wasn't a box. There was no box office for it.
Interesting. Okay, go on.
Yeah. Will I keep going?
Yeah, please.
Christopher Walken.
Okay.
3 names left. Like I keep going.
Yeah.
John Hamm.
Have I heard of this?
Oh, for sure you've heard of this.
Oh, John Hamm.
Everyone knows this film.
Emily Blunt.
You haven't seen it, but you've heard of it. Yep.
Fuck it, what is it?
Can I give you the next name?
Yeah.
Jamie Dornan. And then Emily Blunt. You're telling me that you can't tell me what Irish film Emily Blunt, Jamie Dornan, and Christopher Walken were in 2020 that came out during COVID. Your brain does not contain the information of what that film is. The listeners are screaming right now. They are bellowing at you the name of
I know
film.
there.
This film is directed by John Patrick Shanley, the man who wrote the line, "I have doubts, I have such doubts."
Oh.
Wrote and directed this film based on his stage play. 3-word title.
Something, something, something.
Something, something, something.
Is it there something?
No, it's something, something, something.
Is the middle word
Middle word is a
noun?
Geographical feature. Yeah, an improper noun. And, it's a topographical.
Mountain?
What?
Correct. Hill. Mountain.
Correct. You're having a bit of an Alzheimer's moment here, my friend.
Wild Mountain Time.
Wild Mountain Time.
Wild Mountain Time. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
God, I really got you there.
Yeah.
What an all-time disaster of a credits game for this man.
Hey, look, I got very close very early.
The spicy margaritas have really fucked him up, my friends.
Yeah.
Thank you, Universal Pictures.
Got it on the green. I couldn't put it.
Okay, that's it. That's our Fall Guy episode of Boy Party. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to find out what you thought of Fall Guy, you can go see it in cinemas Thursday in Ireland and around the world. Brought to you by Universal Pictures, a good company that gives out spicy margaritas. We'll be back next week to discuss more great movies with 2 or more movie stars. We hope you agree this was a boy party and that we were right to do it on the show.
Yeah.
More new releases coming at you soon from the world of David Leitch.
Really?
Maybe a little bit of snicked.
What the fuck are you talking about?
We're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh.
I guess. Coming soon. It's the biggest boy party of the summer.
I can't believe we're doing the podcast and going to end up doing 2 David Leitch films in the first.
He has not made that film. That is directed by my favorite filmmaker, Sean Levy. Don't worry.
Okay.
We're going to have a Sean Levy special.
For the 25th episode.
Thanks so much for tuning in. And boypartypod.com, boypartypod on all social media. Bye-bye.
Drive safe.
Drive safe. Bye-bye.